joining us here on Halton News tonight. It's Thursday, June 4th, and I'm Jessica Kading. In Halton, since the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, the region has reported 661 confirmed COVID-19 cases and another 70 probable cases. But fortunately, many of those cases have now resolved, so we're going to focus on the currently active and probable cases in the region and break it down by municipality. In Burlington, there are currently 15 confirmed and probable cases. In Oakville, 33, Milton, 36, and in Halton Hills, 13. Probable cases are those in which the person has reported symptoms and has likely had contact with an infected individual, but has not yet received test results themselves. Today, 7 of the probable cases listed turned out to not be COVID-19 after all. Despite the restrictions still in place restricting social gatherings due to COVID-19, local groups have organized in support of the Black Lives Matter anti-racist movement to march together and show solidarity. Melissa Candelaria is on the scene tonight in Oakville. Melissa?
So I am here at the Oakville Public Library Central location in Oakville. Things are wrapping up here. I would have to say, Jessica, a powerful movement here. Several hundreds of people marching along here in downtown Oakville. The consistent chant, Black Lives Matter here, coming together in solidarity. What's evident here is the diversity of people in age, in gender, of course, in ethnicities, coming together for this movement to support our Black brothers and sisters in this cause. I will have the full story for you tomorrow on the newscast, but I just have to say, you're almost moved to tears by this chanting, and it's still going on, and the movement is there. I know there are other protests scheduled in Halton, and This is a movement that's not going to go away. Black Lives Matter here. It's quite powerful, and I think the main message here is that they want to stop the systemic racism. They want to stop the racism that's so subtle. They want justice, and we saw that with the support of the horns honking of the drivers driving by these marchers. And I'm just blown away by the amount of support. Again, Jess, hundreds and hundreds of people were here for this march. Again, I'll have that story for you tomorrow, but with that, I'll leave it for that for now, and I will throw it back to you.
Thank you, Melissa. Powerful stuff. We look forward to seeing that tomorrow. Each of our local mayors have also led statements out, and I have part statements for you to share right now. Mayor BONNETTE of Halton Hills has said that on May 25th, the world was witness to the senseless death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and our hearts and prayers go out to his family. There's no place for hatred in Halton Hills. There is no place for racism. At Burlington City Hall, the flags are being lowered to support that and the end of systemic racism. Mayor MARIANNE Ward has said in part, we must all confront the racism that exists in our community and help end it for good. This is a time to take a look in the mirror and ask ourselves if we're doing enough to ensure that every person is being treated with the same humanity, respect, and compassion as we all deserve. It's a time to learn, a time to listen, and a time to act. I'll be back with statements from Mayor Gord Krantz of Milton and Oakville Mayor Rob Burton. But first, here's a look at the scene in Burlington's Solidarity March. Organizers of this Solidarity March encouraged participants to wear masks and gloves, as well as to bring signs and posters. The purpose of this march is starting at Walker's and New Street and in the Mary Lou's parking lot and ending at Burlington City Hall to raise awareness of anti-Black racism in our community and North America, to stand in solidarity. Milton Mayor Gord Krantz has also issued a statement that says, in part, in Milton we pride ourselves on inclusion. We must constantly be committed to this conversation, especially in our roles as elected officials. Governments have an important role in building, reviewing, and changing systems that foster humanity and equality. We must listen and learn. Oakville's Mayor Rob Burton and members of council also issued a long statement today, which we've condensed here. As important as it is to condemn violence and racism, we believe it will take abiding commitment to living with each other in mutual respect and cooperation to end racism and violence. We recognize the multitude of experiences everyone in Oakville have felt and are feeling. Those of you watching wondering what you can do to show solidarity, becoming more educated on the history of racism and oppression and increasing your understanding may be a step in the right direction. An article was posted by Devon Cornelius called Speaking My Blackness, which you can find on devoncornelius.com. He speaks to historical events and people he asks you to learn more about and describes his experiences growing up, including what it was like to attend high school here in Burlington in the late 90s as one of only 7 Black teenagers attending that particular school. He also offers advice on what is and is not helpful for the cause. Of course, our Indigenous population has also experienced extreme forms of racism and discrimination. And with being Indigenous History Month, MP Pam Damoff has suggestions on ways that you can learn more about the Indigenous experiences as well.
June is Indigenous History Month. It's also Indigenous Reads, and it's an opportunity for all of us as Canadians to really educate ourselves about Indigenous history, about colonization. For hundreds of years, Indigenous peoples in our country have been subject to colonization. There's a history with residential schools, the 60s scoop, and even to this day in terms of the number of children in the foster care system. And I think it's really important for Canadians to understand the history of Indigenous peoples in our country so that we can move forward and try to end the discrimination and racism that continues to exist against Indigenous peoples in our country. It's quite serious. It's something that we need to fix, but I think during Indigenous History Month, it's an opportunity to learn and find a way forward.
It is also, of course, Pride Month. We'll have more on that in the coming days here on Halton News, but we'd also be remiss to not acknowledge that this week is Accessibilities Week. MP Pam Damoff explains the significance.
I am happy to speak about National Accessibility Week, which is this week. We as a society need to do much better for persons living with disabilities. We call it Accessibility Week, but really it's about inclusion. And I often say accessibility is about building the ramp, but inclusion is actually inviting people into the room and making them part of a conversation. And so during National Accessibility Week, we celebrate those individuals in our community that live with a disability, but we also commit ourselves to making a difference because we still have a long way to go. We sometimes pat ourselves on the back by saying, you know, we've done some of the small things, but you know, people living with disabilities still face much higher unemployment rates than the rest of Canadians. Many people living with disabilities are not able to find paid employment. It's still a segment of society where we find it acceptable to have them volunteer. So during this week, it's an opportunity to really think about what we can do to make a change. I'm really fortunate every week on Wednesday since the pandemic started, I have a call with Community Living Oakville. And I can tell you it is the highlight of my week, talking to these individuals who are just such incredible contributors to our community. And you know, this is an opportunity to sort of reflect, but also celebrate the individuals like them at Community Living who make our community so much better.
Shifting gears a bit now, there was some good news for cottagers announced today by the province. Oakville MPP Stephen Crawford joined us via Zoom to share that announcement.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jessica. The Premier Ford made an announcement today that effective June 5th at midnight, that cottages, rental cottages, B&Bs, and lodges and whatnot will be able to open up effective immediately. So we're excited about that. Now, obviously, these resorts, lodges, cottages will have to follow the health and safety guidelines put out by the province, which we have on our website. But we're very excited because this time of year is so critical for these businesses and individuals who rent out their cottages. 70 or 80% of their income typically comes through in July and August. And this will also give families the opportunity to get out of the city, go up north, spend some time in the country with their families, of course, continuing to follow social distancing, physical distancing that our government, of course, has mandated and we continue to need to follow. So I must stress that that's still in place as long as we still have COVID here. But at least this is some glimmer of hope and some good news for families and cottagers and vacationers for this summer. So we're excited about that.
Also announced today was the Premier's Council on Equality of Opportunity, a new advisory group that will provide advice on how young people can overcome social and economic barriers and achieve success. The council will consist of up to 20 members. If you are interested and have expertise in the areas of community service, business, education, and government services such as youth justice and child welfare, you're encouraged to apply. MPP Crawford has more about why they've created this council.
Yeah, so the Premier made an announcement today that he's created a new advisory council called the Premier's Council on Equality of Opportunity Advisory Council, and this will be led by Jamel Javani. And we're excited because this is going to really bring in youth from all over the province of Ontario who have diverse backgrounds, diverse interests. Some are maybe in business, some may have some government experience or nonprofit experience, but they're all going to come up with ideas as to how we can create a level playing field for opportunity in this province. We know that there's been a lot of issues of inequality. We've just witnessed what's been going on in the United States, obviously, very recently. So this is something that's very dear to our hearts, and I know to the Premier. So we're excited that we're able to create this new advisory council, and I would encourage any youth between the ages of 18 and 29, if you're interested in joining this council, please reach out to our office and we can send you the details as to how to participate, because we really are excited about this announcement that the Premier made today. We want to have some great young people from all over Ontario involved in this.
As mentioned yesterday, according to the CRTC, as many as 12% of households in Ontario are underserved or unserved when it comes to broadband internet and cell service. This is mostly in rural areas, but it includes parts of Milton. Mayor Gord Krantz looks forward to improvements on this front, considering how much more we are all relying on the internet, especially with children being homeschooled for the time being. Let's take a look.
Halton is still, for the most part, a rural community. They don't have access to a lot of that stuff. So as an example, if you're a child living in rural Milton or rural Halton, you don't have access to real good broadband. So how are you going to learn through that? But it's coming to light because of this virus that is more and more critical to have services such as that. So not only students that are learning, but as an example, people in the rural areas doing business from home. And of course, I think you're probably going to see more and more of us doing business from home and not them to traveling to our office. So these are just things that a lot of people don't think. But if you live in the country and you are relying on, your computer to connect with the world, you've got a problem. And actually, the four mayors and the regional chair have been almost demanding, for the lack of a better word or phrase, the provincial and federal governments to get on with it. And of course, it's not only government that's involved, and there's big enterprise, and of course, there's 3 or 4 major players that's in the field of telecommunications, and they had to play a very important role in it as well. And I know there's competition there, but they have to start working together, all levels of government, and of course, as I say, private enterprise, to bring those services really going to be needed. Like I say, it's not a luxury. It's something that's a necessity.
As a reminder, the provincial government just announced yesterday to invest $150 million in reliable broadband and cellular service as part of their larger $315 million initiative called Up to Speed, Ontario's Broadband and Cellular Action Plan. Burlington City Manager Tim Camiso was a guest on Burlington Matters, where he explains the losses in revenue along with extra costs that the city has faced amid the COVID-19 restrictions.
And the 2 big impacts on revenues are Parks and Rec revenues. So we are anticipating we'll lose about $3.1 million. But the offset to that is we also laid off over almost 700 part-time staff. So unfortunately, we had to make that decision early. So that's, for the most part, offset a lot of the revenue loss for Parks and Rec. But I want to talk, or Recreation Service, I want to talk about moving forward. Transit, essentially, we've had to sort of just absorb that. We don't have the ability to, make up that revenue. It's about $1.5 million we project to the end of the year. We've also lost some revenue, certainly in providing free parking. There's no parking fees downtown or in any of our lots that are usually paid lots. So that's another significant impact. So all told, we had projected and reported to council under a scenario that was what we called sort of a, not a worst case, but a kind of a realistic case, about $9.2 million in lost revenues. However, we believe we've been able to offset most of that going forward with savings, and also where we have reserves that are specific to that particular revenue area. So in the case of parking, we have a healthy parking reserve. So what we're saying to council is we think that as long as we move forward, in a very prudent way, well managed, that our overall impact at the end of the year, very best case would be a few $100,000 negative. Worst case would be somewhere in the range of about 2 million, but it really depends on also our ability to bring back services like recreation programs, transit.
You can watch that entire episode tomorrow night on The Issue. It will air right here on your TV. We do need to take a short break. We'll be right back with a lesson in patience. Stay with us. Welcome back to Halton News. This pandemic has tested our patience in many ways that we may not have previously imagined. A local psychiatrist addresses this and suggests ways in which we can work to increase our patience during these trying times.
Hi, this is Dr. Ashok Bhattacharya speaking to you from the Empathy Clinic in Oakville. So I don't remember a time during this pandemic when people have had been more taxed to be patient. So let me talk about patience. I've noticed it in myself. I've had to rediscover how to be more patient during this difficult time. And one of the challenges is not knowing the outcome. So it's really hard to reassure others about when, for example, this is going to be over. So are we there yet? Like what we say when we're kids, when we're going on a long drive with our parents. It's really hard to do that now. So what are some techniques of learning how to be patient? Well, we kind of learn how to be patient when we're a child. In fact, Dr. Michelle in Stanford used marshmallows to do what was called the marshmallow test. And basically what he found was that the kids who could wait to eat the marshmallows were ultimately more patient and had more self-control. And they also did better later on in their lives. So when we have physical stresses, if we're tired, if we're hungry, or psychological stresses, if we're worried about something, certainly if we're stressed out, frightened, or panicking, or if we're having anxiety about something, that's when we're going to have trouble with our patience. It's also important to realize that what actually taxes us? Well, people tax us and stress us out. Life circumstances, like just trying to get somewhere fast in your car when there's a traffic jam. And sometimes just like your hair, the day-to-day things that can upset you. So to practice patience, it's really important to remember that brain fitness can really help. Make sure you're well rested, you're using all of your brain muscles, and you're feeling more relaxed. It's also important to practice your empathy skills. That can really decrease your sense of feeling on edge and make you more patient. Also, by doing those things, you can be a role model for yourself, but also for the people around you. Stay safe and be well.
And now on this gorgeous day, we'd like to shout out to all the frontline workers at Milton District Hospital. Taking a look now at our long-range weather forecast, tomorrow is expected to start off nicely with a mix of sun and cloud, and then a 40% chance of showers starts in the late afternoon. That comes with the risk of a thunderstorm. The UV index will be extremely high at 9, so keep that skin protected. Cooler temperatures over the weekend, but mainly sunny skies. Our high will hover between 21 and 24 degrees until Tuesday, when we'll be back up to 28 degrees by the afternoon. The Oakville Chamber of Commerce invites you to join the Federal Minister of Small Business, Export, Promotion and International Trade tomorrow morning via Zoom, where she will address key questions on relief programs available to small businesses during a time when they need it most. As well, she will also provide insights on what the path to recovery might look like. To register, you are asked to visit the Oakville Chamber of Commerce website at occ.ca. And now we'll look to how the markets turned out today. Some interesting news from the Burlington Food Bank still ahead. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Halton News. I'm Jessica Kading. The Burlington Food Bank has noticed a huge spike in the number of seniors using their services this year. The executive director has those details.
Hi, this is Robin Bailey, the executive director of the Burlington Food Bank. And yesterday we talked a little bit about kids. Today I wanted to talk about seniors. We've seen a drastic increase in the number of seniors that are having to use our services, and we're really happy that we're able to help them out. It's just one of those things where we know the delivery model is definitely a big help to them, that they're not able to get that food. The other group that we've also seen an increase over the last couple of years, and even during COVID, is those who are working. And some of you are working and can't be home during the mornings when we're normally delivering. We also deliver on Thursday evenings. So if you email us, info@burlingtonfoodbank.ca, or give us a call, 905-637-2273, and just let us know that you need an evening delivery. We'll arrange for that to happen on a Thursday evening when we have our delivery drivers out.
New measures like working from home, social distancing, and staying in are contributors for conflicting feelings or situations. Halton Women's Place invites you to join their public education team in exploring some conflict resolution strategies and different tips to help maintain those healthy relationships that are being put to the test. This free event will take place online on June 12th at 1 p.m., but you must register in advance. To do so, please visit haltonwomensplace.com. The Townsend Smith Hospice Foundation is a not-for-profit registered charitable organization whose mandate is to build and make available residential hospice services to the residents of North Halton. They're currently looking for new directors to join the volunteer board of directors. If this is of interest to you and you have experience in legal, project management, or financial management, you're asked to submit an application to boardcandidate@townsendsmith.ca. We do need to end the show now. We'll be back tomorrow live at 5:30. Stay tuned. We do have Burlington's Teletown Hall for those of you in Burlington.